I will call to order the Ottawa City Commission meeting for Wednesday, July 1st, 2026. May I have roll call, please?
Mayor Clayton,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley,
Present.
Commissioner Allen,
Present.
Commissioner Skidmore,
Present.
and Commissioner Van Layden.
Present.
We are all present and accounted for. I want to welcome everyone here, everyone out in the hallway and the overflow room, as well as those watching online. We will do the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the invocation by Base Director Samuel Matias from Youth with a Mission from Salem, Oregon.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Good evening, everybody. Let's commit this time to the Lord. Father, we thank you so much for tonight. We recognize that so much in your book, in the Holy Bible, is about government. It's how you appoint it. It's how we engage with it. And so we pray that tonight your discernment would be on this. We know that this is not a normal meeting. So we pray for your presence, your peace, that passes all understanding. Father, we ask for discernment for these 5 commissioners before us. We pray that as they are appointed to provide justice and peace and harmony within the community that they seek to serve, that they would be successful in doing so. And Father, as a guest to this city over many years coming and going, I'm just incredibly grateful for the hospitality it's shown me and many, and for the children, the people that it serves and raises. We love you, Jesus. We pray these things in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Samuel. That'll take us to item 6, the consent agenda, which consists of minutes from the June 17th, 2026 regular meeting, minutes from the June 24th, 2026 study session, minutes from the May 21st, 2026 Board of Zoning Appeals, rescind appointment of Benjamin Antoskowski to the Board of Zoning Appeals, and agenda approval.
Motion to,
Go ahead.
you're good.
I'll second. You go.
Motion to approve.
I'll
We have a
second.
motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. That'll take us to item 7, appointments, proclamations, and recognitions. City Manager Motti will present a retirement plaque to Rick Line.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, so Rick Lines began his career with the City of Ottawa on August 18th, 1983. During his nearly 43 years of dedicated service, Rick held various positions throughout the organization. He worked in Public Works as a Maintenance 1, Maintenance 2, and Equipment Operator, and later served the City Hall and Ottawa Memorial Auditorium as a maintenance worker and custodian. So Rick retired from the City of Ottawa on June 26, 2026, and we want to thank him for his many years of dedication and service to our community. And we wish him all the best in his next phase of retirement. So with that, I'll introduce Rick here tonight. If you'd like to come up and like to say anything or receive your plaque.
I just want to say thank you for the years of service I put in with the city, especially with Skidmore. I want to thank you too, because every time I see you, you say hi. You say thank you for what you do. Chief Weingartner, every time I'm at the police station when we're there, you always say hi and say thank you for what we do also. And there's a few others, in there on it too. But I just want to say for everybody, I didn't know tonight was going to be the same night with all this other going on. I just ask for everybody to work together and do what's right, do what's the best. What I got to say. For my life, I don't know what my next step's going to be yet. I got 2 brothers here tonight, one from San Antonio, Texas, Rodney. The other brother, Randy Lines, from Lincoln, Missouri, is here tonight. And my wife and I, we got our 40th anniversary coming up 4th of July.
Yeah.
So, everybody have a good night and try to work things as good as you can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Hoorah!
Well, Rick, congratulations and thank you for your years of service. That'll take us to item 8, public comment.
We have 28 registered this evening, and we will start with Sandy Murick. Music, sorry.
My name is Sandy Music, and we've lived in Ottawa approximately 60 years. I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren and all the people that signed the petition. The only person I know is Miss Mayor, and I know he's a good man, and I think he cares a great deal for Ottawa. When I took around the petitions, I was so sad that so many people knew nothing about what was going on. They said, what's the data center? Where's Proximity Park? And when they found out, they were so angry and they felt so discounted and like their opinions didn't matter, that you weren't really representing them. And they felt so left out of the loop. And the thing that bothered them the most was that you signed the NDAs, because then no one knew anything that was going on. And I know now in many states, they don't even allow local politicians to sign NDAs because it's so interwound with the taxpayers' money. And I was reading where in the Gallup poll says 70% of Americans do not want a data center in their neighborhood. And you can't blame them if you watch the news. You hear the noise pollution. It's just, my grandchildren live in that 3-mile radius. My friend does. And 2 friends and I, we got 100 people to sign the petitions because they're so angry about it. And they just feel so left out. And the other night, it was about 2:30 in the morning, and I was thinking about this and the future of Ottawa, and I was praying to God that he would help us. And I just wondered if you guys, in the middle of the night, think about what's going on and how it's affecting our city. And I just hope that you will find it in your hearts to try and understand what we're talking about. And Kansas Congressman Derek Smith, he said something I thought was so wise. He said, decisions ought to be reflecting the local preferences. And from what I've heard, this is not the local preference, what's going on. I mean, it's sad because we feel like we have no voice, nothing. And it's so frustrating. And, you know, it's just, the sad thing is that if this goes and it goes badly, it's going to be your legacy. What people will remember you did for Ottawa. And I think each of you care about Ottawa, and hopefully you will try to help us and think of what the people want. You can see how many people are here, how many people don't want what's going on. And I just hope that you'll find it in your hearts to help us. Thank you.
Thank you, Sandy.
Kelly Panett.
Hi, my name's Kelly Panay, 1050 Haskell Terrace. I'm asking for a public forum to provide civil discourse in regards to this proposed data center. Data centers have been causing raw material shortages for my small pottery business for the last 3 years. Some of the chemicals that have been mined out or hoarded are feldspars and kaolins. I can no longer get ceramic grade Custer feldspar. It is also known as potash, the same potash used by farmers for fertilizer. In 2025, potash was added to the U.S. list of critical minerals due to shortages and supply chain risk. Currently, 90% of it is imported from Canada, Russia, and the Middle East, so that's going to affect a lot of people. Data centers use the same ceramic materials I do in the substrate of their silicon CPU and GPU chips. These hyperscale and high-performance chips degrade rapidly and need replaced about every 18 months. This is never going to be a one and done. This thing constantly has to be rebuilt. As you can see, there's a lot to learn about data centers. They are insatiable resource hogs and will affect everyone on this planet. They are unsustainable enterprises. Your data center may generate 200 to 300 jobs, but the algorithms it generates could eliminate 1,000 jobs in this community. Mike Skidmore once wrote in a letter to the Kansas State High School Activities Association in 2013 that there is potential for administrators' decisions to be biased by the culture in which they work. I think there's some bias here. I'm going to ask again, even though I feel like a peasant groveling at the feet of the overlords with this 3-minute platform, that you grant us a public forum to explore this issue in a more democratic way. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Kelly.
Alton Hall.
And when we have comments, please no clapping, anything like that, so we can hear the name of the next person who's called.
Good evening, members of the commission. My name is Alton Hall. I live 727 North Cedar Street here in Ottawa. I've lived in Ottawa almost 32 years and going to love this town. I'm going to make my statement short. My plea is that the process be honest, legal, ethical, transparent, and no burden to the citizens and what's in the best interest of the citizens of Ottawa. That's my plea. I thank you for your time.
Thank you, Alton.
Colleen Grillet. Colleen.
Good evening. My name is Colleen Griot, and I have lived within miles of Proximity Park for about 9 years now with my husband. I know you guys have the opportunities to offer additional incentives and extensions to the Lightfield project beyond the August 1st deadline. So I'm here to request that you no longer pursue the success of the project out of concern of critical pediatric medical necessity and public health in general. I may not be a direct member of the Ottawa community, being outside of the limits, but your decisions regarding this project impacts my home and is a direct physical threat to my family. That sweet boy right there is my son, George. In November 2024, he was diagnosed with stage 3 kidney cancer. From that point on, he endured a grueling 8-month fight consisting of 7 rounds of radiation, about 75 doses of chemotherapy across 6 different chemo medications, half being highly intensive, and leaving permanent effects on his body, as well as the additional hospital stays, numerous blood transfusions, platelet transfusions. The list could go on of everything he endured. My child had to fight for his life at such a young age, when he was only 2 years old. But he is among the fortunate ones to survive, and we are so blessed that he is healthy today, and we are celebrating his 1-year remission date tomorrow. Anyone who has watched their child fight for their life knows that remission is not a finish line. It is a fragile period of recovery. George's immune system and developing lungs cannot handle the toxic reality of what you are trying to bring into the community and surrounding areas. Lightfield's proposed 440 megawatt facility isn't just a data center, it's a heavy industrial fossil fuel power plant. The natural gas turbines and backup generators will emit we already know all the air pollution it's going to emit. But to make matters worse, for my particular situation, my home sits south to the southeast of Proximity Park, and climatology records confirm we will be directly downwind of this toxic output for at least a quarter of every year, meaning my child is going to be breathing it in for 3 months out of every year. Tonight, I am putting my child's medical vulnerability directly into the record. From this moment forward, no member of this commission can claim ignorance. By law, Proximity Park is zoned for light industrial use, promising no excessive emission of gases and nuisances. If you choose to ignore your zoning rulebook and allow this heavy industrial project to move forward, you're choosing developer profits over the health of the people that it's impacting. I hope you realize by now how many people are prepared to exhaust every administrative and legal remedy available. We will challenge the KDHE air permits, we will challenge the zoning classifications, and we will hold this body accountable in the public eye. I end by asking you, every member of the commission, if you can look my child in the eyes and tell him that this data center poses no risk to his health that he has today, and he fought so hard to get.
Thank you, Colleen.
Terry,
Terry Cloutier, 905 North Hemlock in Ottawa. I've lived in Ottawa about 20 years now, and I've lived all over the country, and obviously, I'm not a youngster like a lot of you guys are. And I've seen a lot of things happen, and I saw a comment by one of the commissioners this last week, and for those of you who know what Styx is, you remember the song, The Grand Illusion? Holy crap, did that hit me right in the face. Because all I heard was, this is going to bring money. This is going to help our schools. This is going to build our roads. This is going to do all this great stuff for us. Well, I can just say that when I was a youngster, I grew up in Chicago, and I have lived all over the country. And we had a highway come in, and they put a 10-year deal. They were going to build this thing. It was going to be the best road ever. It was only going to be 10 cents. It's now up to $10, even though it had a 10-year sunset on it. And there's no more people working because it was all sold as all these jobs are going to be out there. They were collecting tolls. Back when, you guys remember when we had cash? Okay, that's what we had. I've lived in Reno, Nevada. We had, they took the cigarette tax money and they did great things with it. They were going to do this, all this money was going to go into the education system. That's been great for 20 years. My grandkids are still out there. And you know what? Average grades haven't changed a lick, with billions of dollars given to the state of Nevada to help the education system. And it's no different here in Ottawa. It's no different in Missouri. They also got, we voted for all this great, fantastic lottery. It's going to help the education system. That was all the money, where the money was going to go. Has anybody seen any education improvements in the last 20 years? Because I sure haven't. It's been going down. I mean, even when I was younger, they built the Board of Education, the federal one, and that didn't do a thing either. So all we can do is keep throwing money, and it's the grand illusion of, oh, this is all going to be so great. And it's the same thing here with the data center. Oh, look at all the money. Oh, great, we're going to be building this stuff, and then we're going to have 15 people work on it. And oddly enough, I'm not going to mention any names, but I was visiting with somebody in the room here earlier today, and as you remember, last time I was here talking about the biology of it, the water, when it comes out, is just like it comes out of your tap. Pretty clear, clean, if you want to call it clean. The problem is the Meridazine River is a living entity. It is not our tap water. Because if you fill that with our tap water, there's not going to be any fish. There's not going to be any bugs growing in it. There's not going to be any algae growing in it for everything else to live on. You're going to kill that water system. It's up to you guys. You have a choice of helping Ottawa or hurting it, because I'll guarantee you in 20, 30 years, none of you are going to say, damn, this was a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Colin Colson,
Hi, my name is Colin Colson. I am a 24-year-old man. I live at 230 South Locust, and I'm going to make this short, and I'm going to give kudos to everyone who is nice, because I don't feel like being nice. I've never really had a vested interest in local politics before this. The concept of a local representative didn't bear as much weight in my mind as it probably should have. But after this, I know the traits I value in a representative, and I know that none of you fit the bill. You have sold our town's future down the same river you're poisoning. Shame on you.
Chris Mages,
Thank you, Colin.
Chris Mages,
Chris
Sorry.
Mays, 100 block of South Locust. I've spoken to you before about pollution, so I wanted to give you some examples. There's Amazon's Canton facility in Mississippi that opened to a $10 billion bill. It promised 1,000 jobs, yet within months, residents began reporting lung irritation, breathing difficulties, and construction dust that settled over homes and playgrounds. Cooling towers pulled millions of gallons of water daily from the already stressed local river system, while weekly tests of backup diesel generators spiked local nitric oxide levels, which can cause things like asthma and heart problems, and worsen the area's asthma rates. We were promised prosperity, said one person. We got poisoned air and vanishing water instead. So this led to a class action lawsuit that was filed in February of this year, and expansions have been halted. There's also the Stargate project in Saline, Michigan, that promised a tech renaissance when it gained approval in fall of 2025. Instead, it targeted and capitalized on regulation loopholes that would allow unchecked emissions from natural gas turbines, which that's what's going to be used here, potentially adding 1.5 million tons of CO2 per year. And also withdrawals of an estimated 1.8 billion gallons of water annually from the local river threaten the wetlands and other ecosystems. In January of 2026, more than 200 residents stormed town meetings and successfully delayed Phase 2. Our soil's turning toxic, one person said. Our river's running dry, all for someone else's cloud storage. And there's also Monterey Park near Los Angeles, where the residents protested a 1.2 million square facility, hyperscale. It had the potential to increase fine particulate exposure and cancer risks, according to local modeling. California's chronic water scarcity made the projected 500 million gallons of water especially alarming for local residents. And e-waste estimates added another layer. The site could generate thousands of tons of obsolete servers every few years, raising fears of lead and mercury leaching into landfills. After more than 3,000 petition signatures and powerful testimony, the city council revoked permits in February of this year and halted expansion. So, Commissioner Allen, you had posted on your recent Facebook that you leaned on experts to inform your decisions about how to proceed with this or not. So when you get to item 11B today, I would invite you guys to tell us what experts have informed you. And are they experts on pollution, environmental impacts? Point being, they need to inform our ordinances to make sure that we're protected. I've just given you 3 examples, and I'll hand out copies of this to you. You can look up the websites. These people were impacted deeply. What are you going to do to protect us? So here's my time. So
Thank you, Chris.
Rich Colson.
Thank you.
Rich Golson, 1610 Blue Stem. Good evening. I began noticing something odd at the June 3rd commission meeting, and it was reinforced by what I experienced this past Saturday. We needed more no data center signs for our protest on Main Street. One of those attending went down to the Franklin County Republican Party headquarters and grabbed some. That was the moment it truly hit me. You can get these signs at the Republican Party headquarters and the Democratic Party headquarters. You 5 elected officials, along with Blaine Finch, have done such an amazing job in your complete dereliction of duties that you have done what no politician in the history of our great republic since George Washington has done. You have unified citizens of all ages across political lines, ideological lines, racial lines, and gender lines. Your complete failure at representing the citizens of Ottawa has done what 2.5 centuries of U.S. politics has failed to do. If this was the only criteria for a successful commissioner, you 5 would be the best of the best. You can stop this. You can listen to your friends, your neighbors, and the citizens of Ottawa, and issue a moratorium on the data center to give the good people of Ottawa a chance to have their voices heard. You represent the will of the people. You were elected by the people on the assumption that you would do just that. You have failed miserably. But it's not too late to salvage the situation. You can change course and take the desires of the citizens into account. I highly encourage you to do so. Remember, we, the people, elected you, and we, the people, have the right, the ability, and the duty to remove our duly elected officials from office that fail to properly and responsibly represent us.
Thank you, Rich.
Ben Christensen. Ben Christensen.
Hello, I'm Ben. I'm 17 years old, and I live where the data center would be built. The surrounding area out there is some of the most beautiful things I've seen. I've lived there for almost 10 years now, and I would not want the pollution of the data center to ruin all of that. The people suffering from that pollution would be me and other people my age and younger. You guys are probably parents or grandparents, and if you want your kids to have a good future, breathing clean air, drinking clean water, and learning the importance of nature, you shouldn't let this bill pass or whatever. Today's my birthday, and I should not feel like I have to be here to defend our town, And I don't know, you guys kind of suck. That's all I got.
Thank you, Ben.
Allison Hambeck.
Hello and good evening, Ottawa City Commissioners. I live at 1610 Blueston Drive, Ottawa, Kansas, and my name is Allison Hornbeck. I'm currently 16 years old and have felt the need to say something about the data centers, since you have not taken the previous and informational speeches that these amazing people in the crowd have tried to inform you about. It is important to use facts in school essays, but we have already given that to you. And you do not care, so I will skip the long, boring, and extremely important piece of information, because what would be the use? I'll admit I'm not the smartest 16-year-old in the universe, but I have common knowledge to say a data center in Ottawa, Kansas, and anywhere for that matter, benefits nobody, especially the environment and wildlife, causing species to be endangered or even go extinct with time, causing long-term harm to their homes. Last time I checked, animals can't do anything about it, only we can. Data centers pollute the environment with carbon emissions, which is the main cause of global warming, which is irreversible, but able to slow down if you choose to rethink your decision. Data centers impact our water usage, which can affect our hygiene, food security, and sanitation. With this, diseases can be more widespread and our healthcare can decline. Since I was 5, I knew I wanted to pursue the arts. AI has completely overtaken that dream of mine because I know now it is not safe for me to pursue. And I would not be able to financially be stable for myself or my family in the future. All I ask is for you to look at me, the 16-year-old girl that could be hanging out with her friends right now, rather than trying to convince you that this is so important to me and others like me that are too afraid to stand up against you. Because recently it's been proven that all you care about is yourself and not the later generations having to clean up your mess. Data centers are inhumane and need to be abolished. Thank you.
Thank you, Allison.
Paul Rhodes.
Good evening. My name's Paul Rhodes. I live at 3267 Kingman Road, which is about 1 3/4 from Proximity Park. I've lived there 21 years. My wife, Rachel, and 7 kids. And we plan on continuing living there unless projects like this and or solar farms go through and we determine we need to live elsewhere. I work in Spring Hill at the Cardinal Glass Factory. We produce 645 tons of flat glass and 24-hour day. Our process never shuts down. We employ 200 plus people. We melt the materials at 3,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and we have a closed loop cooling system to cool all this equipment with water so it doesn't melt down. Even with that, we are still hooked up to the city water. And with this closed loop system, we still buy 2 million gallons of water a month. We have a 500,000 gallon water tank on the property. 250,000 is the city's. The other 250,000 is reserves for our emergencies. If we were to pull from that tank, we would drain our reserve in 38 minutes. And we would drain the tank in just over an hour. It would take over 5 hours to refill that tank, and if we are not still pulling from it. So we're going to save the process. We're going to try to pull as much equipment off that we can, but we'll still do everything we can to continue to produce glass or keep the process from falling apart. And so we're going to pull the water. We're going to keep pulling water out of the city tank until we can't pull any more water. And we'll ask for forgiveness later. That's just how it is. That's how business operates. This has happened several times in my 26 years of employment there. We try not to let it happen. We try to do everything we can, but there's times that there's nothing that we can do about it and it just pulls it. And the data center is going to be no different. They're trying to cool all their equipment. They're going to save their equipment, and they'll pull the water no matter what, just to save their equipment and keep their process going. And even with a closed cooling loop like they're proposing. So I believe Ottawa can do a lot better selling 2 million gallons of water a month to a single, instead of a single entity with very few employees, and use it elsewhere for other projects, housing, other businesses, multiple businesses. Spring Hill and Gardner have each turned down a data center after listening to their concerned residents on water usage, noise pollution, environmental impact, etc. They know it's not the right fit. Will you listen to your concerned voters today?
Thank you, Paul.
Evan Dorenzo.
Hello, my name's Evan Dorenzo. I live at 1608 Blue Stem Drive in Ottawa, and I am opposed to the data center. You try to find information on this. I go online, ask around. I can only really seem to find much information from Ottawa United. And just like it says, no secret deal, no data center. Sounds to me like we give up our clean air, we give up our clean water, we give up our wildlife, our ecosystem for vague promises of economic prosperity. I don't want to make that trade. So I'm opposed to the data center. As you can see, just about everybody is. I think this is a bad idea. Thanks.
Thank you, Evan.
Susan Hughes. Susan Hughes. Oh, sorry, didn't see ya.
I just took the long way around.
Okay, awesome.
Hi, I'm Susan Hughes, 1201 South Ash. When this agreement was first announced in the paper back in 2024, it said that whatever company, I don't know if it was still Lightfield, or if it was somebody else at that point, we're going to use solar panels to fuel this project. Well, now all of a sudden, Lightfield says they're going to use 5 million gallons of water a day to create steam with natural gas to form their power. So what happened? We've all been studying the impact of these facilities on other communities. Communities that are losing their water supplies, their electric supplies. People turn on their taps and they can't drink their water. People are having to abandon their homes because they can't stand the noise and nobody will buy it. Surprise, surprise, who wants to live next to that? So I'm here to request a moratorium so that we can devise regulations and rules that are appropriate to this size of facility. Who could have dreamed of this 5 years ago? I don't think any of us could see something of this size coming into our community, so we're not prepared. We need regulations that will cover water usage, the contaminated water that they released, and the noise levels. Also, what happens when the bubble bursts and they no longer want this? Who's going to pay for the decommissioning of this and all of the chemicals that are released and used there? Also, we need a third-party study of the environmental impact on this site, not just in general, but what about this site? What's it going to do to the environment? I'd like to quote Erin Brockovich, who was a noted environmental warrior. She says on AI centers, there is everything on the table that matters. Our water, our electricity, our land, our food, our wildlife, our animals, and our health. Please do not grant them a further extension. Please do not grant them further tax money. It's like helping the guy blow the TV out of your living room as he steals it.
Thank you, Susan.
Deanna Kimmel.
Thank you, Commissioners. It's Deanna Kimes. And I am here to speak loudly and clearly against the preposterous idea of data centers in our community. I grew up on a farm and have now since lived in this community and worked in this community for over 70 years. And I know someone in here will say, is she still around? Yes, I'm still around and alive. I have done my research on data centers, and I hope that you city commissioners have diligently done yours. If you have, how can you possibly, with a clear conscience, be in favor of higher taxes, higher electric bills, water pollution, noise pollution, air pollution, wasted farmland, harm done to livestock, domestic animals, wildlife, and all other kinds and consequences? Surely you are aware of this. Is it to fill the city coffers, greed for money, or what? There will be no good benefits to the people of this community, only devastation. Value of property will go down. People will leave the community. Lawsuits will arise. And believe me, no one will want to move here and live with data center problems. The end results will be anything but good. The idea of a data center in this community is totally asinine. We, the community, will fight against every aspect of the idea. Have we lost common sense to supposed progress? What a shame.
Thank you, Deanna.
Robin Spielman.
All right, my name's Robin Smillman, 109 Megan Lane. I'm opposed to the data center. I'm just going to give you out a flat number what cancer is like. $332,000 is what my bills are for 5 months of cancer treatments, scans, and all of that. So maybe not any of us are going to be affected by the chemicals and everything that's going in with this data center, the air pollution and everything that everyone's going to be breathing. But I'm almost at a point to where I want to tell my children not to have any babies for me, because it is so scary to think that they may have to go through the same thing that I myself is going through. So you commissioners, you, Mr. Finch, wake up. It's time to wake up. I've brought many complaints to you guys, and I've not got a response one. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Harry Olam. Or Corrine, maybe? Corrine, sorry.
I feel for you having to read our handwriting. It's okay. I'm Corrine Ullum. I live at 1240 South Hickory here in Ottawa. First, I want to thank you, commissioners, for continuing to take public comments. I understand that this opportunity is at your discretion, and I'm sure it can be uncomfortable at times. Second, I want to say that I do not believe that any of you commissioners is on the take, as has been stated from this podium. I also do not believe that there have been any backroom deals, and I understand the need for NDAs. I understand why that's necessary in some cases in order to bring business to a community. You have faced unsubstantiated claims with no opportunity to respond. However, to this point, I want to reiterate that you could have had an opportunity to respond had you done what we've asked you to do, and that is to have a public forum. We deserve that. You are our elected officials, our elected representatives, and we have no opportunity to talk to you with all of you at the same time. Yes, we can have coffee with you. That's not the same thing. You know it's not the same thing. The public doesn't hear the same answers. They don't hear the same questions. You all don't hear the responses of your fellow commissioners. Having coffee is lovely for certain topics, but this is not one of them. You are leaving, the fact that no such forum is apparently in the offing leaves us to wonder why not. You are leaving us to fill in the blanks of missing information, and this invites conspiratorial thinking. Lastly, I want to categorically state, and I think I represent everyone who has gotten the courage up to come and stand up at this podium and have their face and their words recorded forever. People can go back and see what we said. And I'm sure I speak for many who have not gotten up here to speak. And that is that we do not want Lightfield here. Lightfield, if you are watching, or if you are watching this recording, I say to you categorically, we do not want you here. And we do not want the next data center developer here either. You can't see it on the recording, but it's a packed house here. The hallway out here is standing room only. Why the commission does not see fit to move these meetings to a location where more people can be in the room is beyond me. But that's a topic for another day. If you decide to come here, you should know, as others have stated, that we will do our level best to make your experience here miserable. One more time, we do not want you here. Thank you.
Thank you, Corinne.
Greg Hazen.
My name's Greg Hazen. I live at 611 North Davis. I think it's time. We've gave you plenty of chances. You've never even talked to any of these people or give them any excuse whatever. There is no excuse. That's why I think it's time we sign a petition just to get you guys off the board so we can stop this thing. Until we do, you guys are going to keep running it in the ground. We've asked for many, many things, and you guys can't tell the public one thing. You guys don't care. You don't want to work with any of the people out here. You want to go back here in a closed office and try to make a decision, a stupid decision, and you know it's stupid, and you're afraid to admit that you messed up. I think it's time for you guys to just say, hey, we messed up. Accountability goes a long ways. I don't know how you guys can go out in public and just walk down the street. You know, our farm back in the 30s gave this city of Ottawa water out of our well, and you're taking it away from us. Back in the 30s in the Dust Bowls, that well that I drink out of now fed this town water. What are you going to do? Take it away too? That's what you're doing. Everything you do, you got to live with. And I'll tell you, I don't think not one of you five can sleep at night. If you can, it's unbelievable. It's time to quit or stop it. Time to do your job. And your job is for the people. If you don't want to work for the people, don't do the job. We'll find someone that can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
Morgan Duncan.
Hi there, everyone. My name is Morgan Duncan. I live at 1108 North Hickory here in Ottawa. I've lived here for about 6 years now. Grew up just south of here. Lovely to be here. Thank you. So you all know about the resource drain. You know about the pollution. You know about the health damages, the noise, and you know that the environment is already headed downhill. Nobody can claim that it's not. I hope that you know that no one here wants Ottawa to fail, wither, and die. Not one person here. And I'm willing to say that you don't want that future for Ottawa as well. I don't know you, but I'm willing to say it. I'm here to remind you that you can still stop this. It truly is not a lost cause, and you are not helpless, and neither are we. I'm asking for a moratorium, and I'm asking for a public forum. Stop the data center. Thank you.
Thank you, Morgan.
Serena Brown.
Hello, my name is Serena Brown. I live at 3640 Kentucky Road, and I've lived here almost my whole life.
I am not a farmer, but I descend from a long line of farmers. And I cannot imagine how horribly they specifically will be impacted by this. I have seen countless videos of people talking about how their water is being used up by AI. They'll turn on their tap water, their water is brown, or they won't even run, or the water pressure is so low it's laughable. And they're also, during all of that, they're being asked to watch their water consumption. We can't do that to farmers. They are growing our food. We owe so much to them. We are a farming town. We host the tractor show. I'm borderline speechless. We do not deserve the future that AI is going to bring us. We do not deserve a place with high noise and light pollution. We do not deserve air pollution. We do not deserve low water. We do not deserve low electricity. We deserve a place that we can call home, and we deserve a good one. Human lives should not be secondary to machines. They should not be secondary to profit. Human lives should come first, and I pray you guys think about that. Good day.
Thank you, Sabrina.
Beth
Mrs.
Hamill.
Delatorre, if you keep up the disruptions, we're going to have to ask you to leave, okay? Please stop. We'll quit disrupting the meeting, all right? You're disrupting the
No.
meeting. That's irrelevant,
Yeah.
ma'am. You're disrupting the meeting for the rest of us, so please stop.
Sorry, don't do it.
There's other ones.
Okay, I'll listen to you.
I wish I'd have been in this room all this time. But I'm Beth Hamill. Yes, sorry. Hi, my name is Beth Hamill. I live at 2559 Nebraska Road, Ottawa. For any of y'all that don't know that, I live 1 mile from Proximity Park. I implore you, do not want this data center. There have been lots of people talking. They've said great things. All of y'all who have talked have said great things. I'm not going to try to outdo that. I'm just telling you that I live 1 mile from where this data center is proposed to be. I bought this farm 6 years ago. I came here from California. I don't even need to tell you people what it's like coming from California. I ran away from solar and wind and the insanity, and it feels like this beautiful little town is falling into that same trap. So one more time, please do not build this data center, because I will have to move, and I will probably lose my entire life savings because I won't be able to sell this farm. Nobody's going to want to buy it because they're not going to want to live within a mile of this horrible, horrible data center. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Lori Hazen.
Good evening. My name is Lori Kissinger Hazen. I live at 611 North Davis Avenue. I've lived here since birth, except when I went to college. I oppose the destruction of life, but I will support a recall should that become necessary. Thank you to everyone that was here tonight, especially our teenagers that spoke. To courage.
Thank you, Lori. And I will remind everyone, we have asked politely, this is a business meeting. There's a level of decorum. Please maintain that. That is our polite ask. You are able to be here and speak. But we have asked no clapping, cheering between comments.
Lisa Perry. Liza.
Hello. Hey, I'm Liza Perry, 3186 Hamilton Road, Princeton. And thanks for serving our community. I wanted to think a little bit recently with all this, the issue of the data centers, which, as you can tell, I'm not for that. But it made me think of the Native American heritage of this area. Ottawa's named after the Ottawa tribe. We have the Osage, I wrote some of these down, Chippewa, the Potawatomi tribes. And with those tribes came a lot of wisdom because those people were very close to the land, respected it. So I was kind of curious to see what some of the leaders of these different tribes had to say about nature and the different parts of being connected to our land. So I want to read just a couple of quotes. And one of them is actually a Chippewa quote by Sun Bear. It says, "I do not think the measure of a civilization is how tall its buildings of concrete are, but rather how well its people have learned to relate to their environment and fellow man." I think that's very important. But this is my favorite, and I'm just going to read this one. And it's a Cree proverb, so from the Cree tribe. But it says, "Only when the last tree has died and the last river has been poisoned and the last fish been caught will we realize we cannot eat money." So I'd like to leave you with that thought. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Liza.
Sarah Chapman.
Hi, my name's Sarah Chapman. I'm a resident of rural Rantoul. I'm not anti-AI and technology, but I also believe it's a myth that if you use the internet, you cannot oppose a data center. Because the reality is that data centers are storing information about us, not for us. What we're seeing as AI and increased technology is often being forced on us, whether we asked for it or not, is more destructive methods to rush into something with money and greed as the main focus instead of being stewards, protecting life, our farmland, our water, and our children's futures. I'm someone who loves to recycle and reduce my carbon footprint, sometimes to the point of driving my husband a little bit crazy. But anything I'm doing to reduce my family's pollution is barely a drop in the bucket compared to pollution that large corporations are making. It's the exact same thing with data. I can be mindful and try to reduce my data footprint, yet the data we use personally is a drop in the bucket compared to large corporations and government users. We are the ones who will carry the burden of that usage. It's not our job here to have all the solutions for data and technology, but it's our job to stand up and say, we don't want it like this. We don't want something that will destroy the only earth that we have here in our backyard, in this very special ecosystem here in eastern Kansas and across our country. As someone who's lived in Miami County most of my life until I moved to Franklin County 20 years ago, I'm right in between the proposed data centers here in Ottawa and in Osawatomie, both on the Maridazine River. We have to think about what we're doing to our earth and our waterways, not just here in the town of Ottawa, but everywhere the river touches. Maybe we should all rewatch the Erin Brockovich movie again to remember what happened to their water, the promises they were given, and the ways corporations continually put profits over people and make a different choice, more aligned, that will actually support all of us. I appreciate the council and all you have to take into account and the real economical needs of running a city. And ultimately, because I don't live in the city limits, I'm not really your constituent. But as we've seen time and time again, large corporations can say all the right things on the front end, but they do not back that up in their actions and implementation. They'll apply pressure and urgency when in reality, this land is precious and valuable, and there will always be more opportunities, especially as technology changes. Coffee County, Kansas took the risk of Wolf Creek nuclear plant and the wind farms, and their entire county benefited. But they don't want the risk of a data center because they have put a moratorium in place. I believe we have to think about the risks long term, not just 5 and 10 years from now, but how our actions affect the long term and the generations that come after us. Just like the Native American quotes we just heard. They believe that everything we do affects the next 7 generations.
Thank you, Sarah.
Sean Markley.
Good evening. Sean Markley, 746 South Funston. Been a resident around Ottawa all my life. I'm going to take a little bit of different approach. And one of the things I want to say is, God damn it. Thank you all. Thank you all. I mean, it warms my heart to, right or wrong, stand up for your rights. This warms my heart. So I'm going to stay factual, but I'm going to kind of go where you went a little bit, but not with the Styx song, but I'm going to go smoke and mirrors. So the proposed data center is 300 acres. Fact? Actual estimated property tax at full build out is $8 million. Okay? Now, I'm not for sure whether that $8 million is just city or whether that's actually considered everything that's included in that. Okay? But that is the information I'm able to find because that's all we have. Okay? Proposed tax abatement is up to 75% for 10 years. Now, here's the deal. We're going to start talking about the smoke and mirrors. The 200 to 300 jobs that is on there is at full build out. I'm going to tell you right now, I've done the research. I've looked at tons of data centers. That data center, even with maintenance, is a maximum 40 jobs. 40 jobs. So this information is smoke and mirrors. I'm sorry. Everything that has been released is smoke and mirrors. Let's put that $8 million property tax in perspective. Let's assume that you get locked into the 10% or the 75% at 10 years. What does that leave? $2 million. $2 million. Let's put that into perspective. At full build out, it's $2 million, right? So trying to recoup the difference of investment versus the sell price over that 10-year period is not even possible. And you're going to sit here and tell me that you're going to lower the mill rate levy with this project? I'm not a fool. There's no way. If this is 8th grade math. 8th grade math, it does not work. So there are 5,500 homes is what Google tells me there is in the city limits of Ottawa. You take 2 million and divide that by 5,500 homes, it impacts that's $364 a home. And you're telling me it's going to lower the mill rate. You got to recoup your money first. And that's not going to happen over 10 years. It's impossible. And if I'm wrong, I challenge each and every one of you, if you've got a goddamn backbone, please come tell me I'm wrong. Because I'd love to hear it. We have spoken. I have been up here many times. I have individually spoken to many of you about everything, concerns, things that happened to me. And you know what? Not one damn time have you guys ever came back to me and said, we're sorry. I got an apology from the last one through a messenger.
Thank you, Sean.
Comment. I challenge you. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong.
Angie Malik.
Please. Every one of you.
What was the name again?
Angie.
Hi, my name's Angie Malik, and I reside at 1878 Jackson Road. And I oppose the data center for various reasons. But because there is already a real estate contract underway, I urge this commission to put regulations in place with regard to energy consumption with peak load regulations, grid reliability, and to pay their fair share for grid upgrades. Zoning laws should mandate closed-loop cooling systems and enforce national pollutant discharge elimination system permits under the Clean Water Act. We need perimeter noise restrictions measured in decibels at the property line and require advanced soundproofing before construction begins. We also must ensure our tax structures and development agreements guarantee long-term revenue for the city rather than letting them exploit loopholes. Pro-regulation is pro-community. It ensures that it operates as a responsible neighbor, and let's protect our grid, our water, and our residents by putting standards in place now. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Angie.
Brooke Sheets.
You guys should have received a packet in the little envelope from me. And I also emailed it to you earlier today. So when we pass this moratorium, we're not reinventing the wheel. We're giving our staff the time to look at what Kansas City and surrounding counties are already doing. They are capping property line noise at a strict 40 decibels at night so that residents can sleep. They are requiring developers to use 100% closed-loop air-cooled systems to protect the local water supply. Let's pass this pause so that we can write those exact common sense protections into Ottawa's code. Proximity Park is currently zoned as an I-2 heavy industrial overlay. When this commission created the Proximity Park Overlay District, you wrote excellent rules to make sure that the buildings look neat, trash cans are screened, snow will be plowed. But because it was designed as a fast-track permitting, a developer can bypass the standard rezoning hearings. The overlay focuses entirely on how the buildings look on the outside while completely ignoring what happens on the inside. It has zero protections against the facilities pulling millions of gallons of water or humming at a good 60 decibels day and night. We need moratorium because the fast track design for Proximity Park is being used to outrun our city's ability to protect its own grid and our residents. My final question is that while you were waiting for this big real estate deal to go through, what have you as city commissioners planned in the last 2 years to guarantee the protections for the citizens of Ottawa?
Thank you, Brooke.
Emma Jemet.
Hello, I am Emma Jemet from 323 East Central Richmond, Kansas, which is kind of a distance from here, but it's still within Franklin County. I am against data centers in general, but particularly those in my own community. We've heard many of the repercussions of building data centers just tonight. Had we not, I'd be tempted to give a much longer speech. Instead, I will just say this. Please put the people of Franklin County first. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma.
Michael Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners, citizens of Franklin County. Side note, following comments on the Commission side of the chamber, spoke on the 3rd. After every comment, there was a nice short applause. Came back on the 10th, witnessed the first couple speakers had an applause. Then all of a sudden, decorum. I spent about 2 hours that night searching our website. Only thing I could find was we adopted decorum rules for this meeting, but it didn't have the rules that was adopted. So I urge you to please post that. Also in that search, it did kind of say it's a real fine line, a couple of different sources, when you allow applause from staff for awards and such, and not for things like that. So just please check your rules, get them posted. I'll be brief as I'm anticipating what the data center agenda item will bring. We spoke about the health impacts. We spoke about the environmental impacts. We spoke about backroom deals. I just want to applaud every single person who's made their voice heard here and out there regarding their position on this data center. I would normally say this is what democracy looks like, but since this is an all sides issue, I'll go ahead and say this is what a constitutional republic looks like.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you. That'll take us to item 9, declaration. At this time, I'd like to give the commissioners a chance to declare any conflict or communication they might have received that would influence their ability to consider today's issues impartially. Hearing none, we will skip item 10, unfinished business, as there is none. That will take us to item 11A, new business. Review.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Can we move that up right now? I want to move to amend the agenda and move item 11B up to item 11A, so we can have that discussion immediately.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye. All opposed? Okay. Item 11A, amended. Proximity Park Development Update with City Manager Motti and Director Landis.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, public, thank you for coming tonight. So it's no secret that I'm a little new to town. I'm third month on the job, so we've trying to take this opportunity to educate myself and work with my staff to research more on this topic and to provide you with this report here tonight as an update. So only recommended action tonight is that you receive and file an update on a proposed development in Proximity Park. So here you can see a parcel map, and the red outline there kind of shows what Proximity Park is for those who aren't aware. So a little bit of background on Proximity Park. The park was offered for sale in whole or in part, and several businesses looked at the park between the years of 2014 and 2024, but ultimately none made an offer. Lightfield Energy made an offer to the city to acquire all of Proximity Park, and a purchase contract was reviewed, considered, and voted on publicly on December 18th of 2024. Lightfield announced their plan to construct a technology campus that would include a power generation facility using similar generators to those used by the city and one or more data centers and related technology businesses. So this is not a site plan, but this is an initial drawing that Lightfield has publicly put out about the proposed site and what could go on the site. So far, Lightfield has asked for 2 extensions of the contract to complete additional due diligence. Those extensions were also discussed, considered, and voted on in public meetings, the first being in June of 2025 and again in December of 2025. So as of now, no specific project has been submitted by the city to the city by Lightfield. A rough site plan was created and is being used by the developer in their marketing materials. There are no current applications with specific building sites, utility requests, or building permits pending with the city. So a little bit of analysis here. The land that comprises Proximity Park is currently zoned I-2 and was zoned as such in 2017 following a public hearing and vote by the City Commission at the time. In addition, a Proximity Park Overlay District was created in 2018 to provide additional regulations for development of the park. Also, the city adopted and recorded covenants on the land in 2020 that are similar to those at the Edgerton Intermodal Park. So again, the property is currently zoned for industrial use. At this time, no further zoning process is required for development of Proximity Park. The remaining steps for any development are administrative and include submission of a site plan, submission of engineered drawings, and an application for and consideration of building permits. So city staff are sensitive to the desire of the City Commission to support development that is in the best interest of the community, to balance the cost of development with public benefits, and to safeguard the city, its residents, and its resources. So that being said, staff will now provide the commission with 8 operating guidelines for the administrator review of any potential development of Proximity Park. So the first being, development at Proximity Park shall provide its own power at its own expense. If city power is purchased, it shall be priced at a level that does not cause price increases for other city customers. So a technology campus with data centers is not feasible to be served by the city as at its existing power generation capacity. The city may provide some of the end user's power needs, and if it does, that power shall be priced at a level that the end user pays for all generation, transmission, and distribution costs, such that those costs do not fall on other city customers. Any power purchased from third parties shall be subject to a franchise agreement that has similar provisions. This would include Evergy's large load tariff, which pays the city a franchise fee in a manner similar to other facilities served by the city the city served by outside companies. So city staff will only commit to selling water to a Proximity Park development that it can prudently and feasibly provide while maintaining current service levels for our existing customers. Any additional expense for water sold to a development customer shall be borne entirely by that customer. So city customers are required to use the city's water and may not use groundwater or wells to supply their water. The city decides to whom and how much water it will sell. It will not commit to selling more water than it can provide while maintaining its current and future obligations to our existing customers. If additional water rights, production, or distribution of water is required to serve a development, such expenses will be borne by that customer. That
Mr.
takes us-
Motti, can you stay right there for a second? It's on the water. So a gentleman earlier made the comment that his plant that he works at, that when they need water, they just pull water. You know, they pull it from the city. That if Proximity Park builds out, they don't have that ability to just pull water from the city, do they? They only have the ability to use the water that we supply them.
It would be my understanding that we would only sell the water that's available or produced by the city, able to be produced.
Excuse me. What I'm asking is, they don't have the ability to just pull from our water sources. They have to request the water, and then we can actually, could we stop the water from them, stop them from pulling water from us?
So we're not obligated to sell water to anyone or a certain amount of water to anyone. So I think you'll find as we get a little bit later in the report, there will be measures put in place later on if and when a development comes that would be in the form of a development agreement or predetermined set of rules and regulations of how much water the city or the city commission chooses to sell if you choose to do so.
Thank you.
So that being said, the city will not accept wastewater into its system that it cannot treat, which violates KDHE or EPA regulations or creates an undue burden on city facilities. So any wastewater created by a Proximity Park development customer must be returned to the city's wastewater system and may not be discharged in a rock creek or upon the ground. Likewise, the city maintains the right to determine whether wastewater that's entering its system is compliant with any local, state, and federal regulations. The city can deny access to its system and cease operations until such time as the user complies. The city will not allow nor accept water that it cannot treat or which creates additional undue burden on city equipment. To that extent, any modifications of the wastewater distribution system are made necessary by a Proximity Park development customer. The cost of those changes will be borne again by that customer. So into Regulation 4, city staff will use and enforce existing protections in its ordinance to ensure that lighting in Proximity Park does not constitute a nuisance for neighboring landowners. So as the current zoning regulations are written, the zoning administrator has full authority to regulate lighting as part of the site plan review process. Likewise, the zoning administrator may require location, height, intensity, and a specific bulb type of exterior lighting at a proposed development. Developers are required to show the direction of illumination and methods proposed to eliminate glare onto adjoining properties as part of the site plan. And the Proximity Park Overlay Zoning District requires that exterior lighting be arranged or shielded as to avoid glare or reflection onto any adjacent proposed streets, highways, ponds, or building sites. City staff will use and enforce existing protections in its ordinances to ensure that noise generated in Proximity Park does not constitute a nuisance to neighboring landowners. The city's zoning regulations contain several provisions regarding noise and nuisances. Site plan review is required to balance the right of an owner to use their land with the rights of abutting and neighboring landowners to live without undue disturbances, including noise. The I-2 zone does not allow for uses which may be noxious or offensive by reason of the emission of noise or vibration without a conditional use permit. This allows the city to require certain noise abatements as part of the application process. Developers in the Proximity Park overlay are required to comply with all governmental, health, and policy requirements. Lastly, the covenants adopted by the city state that no portion of the property shall be committed to any use that creates a nuisance. So city staff will use our full authority granted by the City of Ottawa's ordinances and regulations to ensure orderly and safe development of Proximity Park. Proximity Park is one of the most regulated parcels of ground in Franklin County. Previous commissions added a zoning overlay district and covenants to regulate the development there. Both of those require owners to keep their premises safe, sightly, clean, neat, and in wholesome condition. Both require owners to comply with all respects with all governmental, health, and police requirements. The parcel is subject to stormwater regulations, subdivision regulations, and state and federal regulations regarding environmental protection. City staff acknowledge that Proximity Park represents a significant commitment by the public to the future growth and development of this area, And we take seriously the obligation to fairly and consistently apply the law set by this and prior city commissions to any application for development received by the city in the future. City staff will recommend a development agreement to add any additional terms and conditions that City Commission deems appropriate and necessary to provide for orderly, safe, and productive development of Proximity Park. So in addition to all the regulations we referenced before, any development seeking tax incentives must agree to a development agreement with the city. Furthermore, that agreement may contain additional terms and conditions to address concerns, issues, or clarifications decided by the city. Maximum and minimum utilities could be outlined and agreed upon. Any shared costs for public infrastructure could be determined. Any connection to a public power grid would be regulated with stipulations. Likely, also within a development agreement, there can be various community initiatives and benefits negotiated, such as funding for schools, daycare, housing initiatives, and more. Likewise, any funding or sponsorships for local civic groups and public organizations. And staff recognizes and believes that any developer of the site should have a vested interest in improving the community. So lastly, city staff will recommend no more than a 75% abatement as referenced in the purchase contract. So the contract agreed to by the City Commission in Lightfield states that no development shall apply for nor receive a property tax abatement to exceed 75% for no more than 10 years. Also, as we get further in the process, staff would apply the city's economic development policy to make a recommendation on incentives if or when an application is received for said incentives. A future recommendation could be for less than a 75% abatement. The development process is ultimately a balancing act. Every development carries costs and benefits, increased traffic, use of resources, request for incentives. You know, the best projects show a return on the community's investment and provide additional resources back to the community to strengthen schools, improve roads, and enhance the quality of life. So with that being said, we have modeled what a build out at Proximity Park might mean for resources back to this community, and I'm going to allow Director Landis to speak a little bit on that.
Thank you. So what we've provided here for you is just an illustration that hopefully will present a bigger picture look at what could happen. Factors for all of these calculations, I just want to, I guess, reiterate briefly that as you heard Mr. Motti say, we don't have an actual project plan in front of us yet. We don't have an incentive application that's been brought forward. And so all of these calculations were prepared with some assumptions. So the site could be built out largely as it's been designed or promoted by Lightfield in their marketing materials. In our estimates, we used 4 buildings instead of 6, plus a power plant. Understanding that all building doesn't occur in year 1, so those estimates were used as well. So what we've presented here to you is years 1 through 10 and what that could potentially look like. We used early estimates that were provided by the developer and also balanced that against other data centers, sites that are in the metro and exist today. We used information that we have today to calculate values for all of these taxing entities. And this information will change year over year as each one of those entities have the ability to change their mill rates. And those valuations change annually that as are given to us by Franklin County. And then any incentives considered at no more than 75% results in an actual 25% new property taxes that don't exist today. And that's to all of our taxing entities. On the slide that you have in front of you, this represents what years 1 through 10 could look like. A total appraised value of nearly $2.6 billion is what was used to generate these calculations. New property taxes in total just for all taxing entities, which not all of them are represented here on this slide, but is roughly $30 million. That does not include revenue from franchise fees, water sales, power sales, wastewater charges, permit fees, stormwater fees. All of those other revenues are not calculated here. We don't know exactly what that would look like yet. So roughly for this city, we've broken out each of the taxing entities that have a larger vested interest. The city would be roughly $6 million. The library would be roughly $1.4 million. The county, $7.5 million. The school district, USD 290, is the school district that's associated with the city limits of Ottawa, and that's roughly $14 million, and the rec commission at roughly $1 million. This second slide represents for you what could be in years 11 through 20. So we took 10-year increments to represent what could happen after any incentives might come off the books, and the full value of the park could come onto the tax roll, estimated here at roughly $231 million in new property taxes that you don't have today. These are based on today's numbers. Again, those mill rates and those valuations, all of those things change annually for all of us, for every taxing entity that's listed here. But roughly over years 11 through 20, you could see roughly $52 million to the city, roughly $12.5 million for the library, $66 million for the county, $88 million for USD 290, and $8.8 million for the rec commission. And that's in the second round of 10 years. To provide this in a little bit different light, we use just the city and the library because that's the mill levy that we in this governing body has the most impact on. Years 1 through 10, this could generate 15% of what you currently are levying taxes against the community to provide community services. So our current property tax is 6.9 million right now. So this would be roughly 15% of that, which is just over $1 million. And then in years 11 through 20, that new property tax would consume over 76% of what your existing property tax is today. So of the 6.9 million that you have on the tax rolls today, that's roughly 5.2 million in new property taxes, or 76%. So on this slide, the green is brand new property tax dollars.
So this is just evaluating how everything here aligns with our strategic alignment pillars that the commission has previously set. So honorable commissioners, these guidelines are submitted to you with staff's understanding of its obligations based on those laws, regulations, and contracts voted on by this and prior governing bodies of the city of Ottawa. So with that being said, if our interpretation or understanding is in any way not what you intend, we stand ready to receive your direction on behalf of the citizens of Ottawa. So, and I just did want to let everyone know that all presentation materials, the existing contracts, supporting staff memorandum will be available on ottawaks.gov by 4:00 p.m. tomorrow under the transparency section. And by end of business tomorrow, you should be able to visit ottawaks.gov/proximity park to access the information that was presented tonight, and it's been previously presented on this subject. So with that, we'll accept any questions you have for myself or Director Landis.
Thank you, City Manager and Director Landis. One question I had, do you know, and you may not know, what the covenants are that are on the land? That, separate from the zoning restrictions, what covenants are on the land?
I haven't done a deep dive on those. City Attorney Finch might have a little bit better idea.
Mr. Mayor, they run several pages. We'll post them on the transparency section of the webpage. They are filed of record with the Register of Deeds, but they do run to several pages, include design standards, include the provisions that the city manager mentioned earlier about requiring compliance with all other laws and regulations.
Thank you.
Can we go back to the noise section on that? That was my main concern. I know we've had a lot of people complaining possible noise problems, noise pollution problems. We're not taking questions right now, so what I need to know is on the noise. Do we know, will the power plant be the most the loudest of all parts of this, or do we know of the data centers themselves?
So Commissioner Skidmore, ultimately, we don't have a site plan in front of us. We don't know the specifications of the generators. We don't want to speculate on how much noise they could create. And at this point, it would only be a speculation. So at the time a building permit was turned in and Lightfield referenced what type of, machinery they were going to use, we could better answer that question. But now I don't have the answer for you.
Well, I just went ahead and Googled just to see, to see what this would be, a 440 megawatt gas-powered power plant, and the amount of noise at 1 mile. 1 mile would be like 23rd Street, so the beginning of the city limits. I looked that up, and it was between 35 and 45 decibels. And so I'd encourage everybody to look up what is an example of 35 to 45 decibels. I think you'll be surprised at what you find. It did say this: at this level, the sound is usually a faint, steady background hum, roughly equivalent to the quiet ambient noise of a library or a rural neighborhood at night. And so that's what I think. If there's some concerns about the noise level, I think Lightfield, they are going to be committed to work with the noise mitigation. And as I've requested from them personally, that would be my one main concern, is the noise level of the data center.
If I'm not mistaken, a 40 decibel is the equivalent to your refrigerator running every night. And I believe what I read on when I was doing research, so.
Thank you, City Manager, for that. And so anything in this process would come back at that time if they choose, if they close on the land and submit a site plan and building permits, or apply for building permits.
Sure, kind of as we stated, for any development to happen, a site plan would be required, a building permit application process would be required, a development agreement would be required, and more than anything, a lot of these questions that we don't have the answer to would need to be answered at that time by a developer, so.
Thank you. Director Landis, could you just touch on our tax incentive? I know we have some slides for that as well that we've seen previously on like what that looks like when someone applies for a tax incentive.
Certainly. So we have a process for any tax incentive application that comes in. It's reviewed. There's a financial analysis performed by an outside company. We compare notes with our other taxing entities. So we work with the county and the school district to make sure that they know what the new project might look like, how it might impact them for any tax abatement that might be requested. And then we bring it to you at the governing body. Typically, depending on the incentive, there's a public hearing, and then there's the approval process.
Thank you. Do we have any further questions for City Manager Motti or staff? Thank you. That will take us to the amended item 11B, a review of revenue neutral rate, assessed valuation, and mill levy fund revenues, with Director Landis. The revenue neutral rate, assessed valuation, and projected mill levy fund revenues will be presented for discussion as part of the 2027 budget process. Welcome.
Thank you. So during our 2027 budget process, we have had multiple sessions with you and discussion items where we've brought to you so far our proposed utility budgets for 2027, some of our special revenue funds, and some of our community partner requests are all discussions we've had already. The next step in our process is we receive the assessed valuation notice from the county by June 15th. And so that's why we want to bring this information to you now. The reason that that's important to you is as we continue our discussion forward about the mill levy funds that impact property taxes for our community, those are the funds that they support all of our city services, such as our police and fire, our streets, our parks, our equipment maintenance, and all of the maintenance to our city facilities. So on June 15th of each year by state statute, we receive our assessed valuation from the county. And this year's valuation for 2026, which is what supports the 2027 budget, is $163,934,000, which means that 1 mil is equivalent to $163,934. There's a The reason that's important is on our next slide, and I'll share that with you. This valuation in total includes new improvements of 2.7 million. What that means for us is that the 2.7 million represents any of your new builds, whether that's housing or commercial or improvements to the buildings that exist, or improvements to your homes in the community. For reference, the estimated valuation for this year at 163,934 is roughly $7,000 per mil more than what it was for the 2026 budget, which is the year that we're in right now. Of that $7,000, $2,770 per mil is what was generated by new improvements or new homes that were built in our community. Our assessed valuation, this is just a trend model to show you what it looks like. And I know that there's a lot of small numbers at the bottom of the screen, but our focus is on the very right, which is our evaluation that was received in 2026, which is what we use to formulate the 2027 budget. The increase over 2025 is 4.56%. The reason that that's important in our future conversations is that over the past 5 years, some of those annual increases were 10%, roughly 8.5%, and then 7.5%. For the valuation to be 4.5%, it creates a new increased value of 7.1 million. What that means to you is that it is still an increase in value to each one of the mill rates that we assign to the budget overall. But it also means that the market and the assessed valuation for your homes and your businesses has leveled out somewhat from the past several years. As a reminder, these assessed values come to us from the county. They are a formula that came from your appraised value that was prepared early in the year by Franklin County Appraiser's Office. And so early in the year, each one of our residents receive an appraisal, and that's a notice that comes to their property in Ottawa. Of course, this is all within the Ottawa city limits. And then they have the opportunity to appeal that value by scheduling a time with the county appraiser, reviewing that. And then the result of all of those valuations is what comes to us in the format of this assessed valuation. Included in that valuation overall for our community are some tax abatements. We have two separate sections of tax abatements here for you to represent the total amount of 15 million assigned to TIF, RHID, and constitutional tax abatements. Those are the types of abatements that support your businesses, and some examples of that and that have existing abatements are your grocery, retail and shopping, your hotels, your business expansions in the North Industrial Park. Those are the types of businesses that have abatements. The neighborhood revitalization program is the one that focuses on rehabbing of existing homes and business or commercial buildings, and or the build of new homes within those existing lots in the district that's been established for neighborhood revitalization. So roughly the abatements for TIF and RHID IRBs is about 8% of your total valuation, and your neighborhood revitalization program is roughly 3% of the total. In your mill levy funds, which the mill levy funds that you have control over are the debt service fund, the Ottawa Memorial Auditorium, and your general fund. Again, that provides all of your general services. And then the library is a component of our mill levy for Ottawa, and they prepare a budget for you, and they'll present that at one of our future meetings, and that's considered as part of your total mill rate as well. The other available revenue sources, as you can see here, is sales and use tax. We rely on the sales and use tax in our community, as do most communities. It's a very large percentage of your total revenue that supports the services that we're able to provide. The sales and use taxes in the general fund consist of the sales and use for our city portion, which is a 1 cent sales tax, and then it's a portion of the county's sales and use tax as well that each city within the county receives. That's a formula that the state prepares, and the state remits those taxes back to us monthly along with the city sales tax. The other revenue streams here are very small compared to the overall expense of the services for the community. One of them being franchise fees, that those are contracts with utility companies that operate within our public rights of way. And then some other revenues, those streams are grants and donations or reimbursed expenses. And then we do receive utility transfers from our utility funds that help to offset the cost of the administration of those utilities. And then in 2025, a transient guest tax was put in place. It does live within our general fund revenue stream, but it is used for specific expenses that would be brought to you. That it's not used for just the general offset of operational expenditures. Our sales, to break down even further a couple of these revenue sources for you, we wanted to show how sales and use tax is impacting our budget preparation overall. So over the years, you can see that sales and use taxes have been increasing in trends, which is a great, it's a great reflection for your local retail businesses that have sales that charge sales tax, because that shows that over time they have seen some increase to their business. As we have entered into kind of a new economy, and those that might be saving a little bit now and maybe not spending as much of their disposable income, we have seen that level off. And so for 2026 right now, for the first 6 months, we've seen that somewhat of a downward trend, which is just slightly under, it's about 1.5%. So we're forecasting that in 2026 and 2027 that revenue stream would be flat for us. That is a very conservative estimate. I don't expect it to stay there, but in order for us to prepare a responsible budget, we need to project those numbers as we prepare the budget for you. Our investment income has gone up significantly over the past several years, and the reason that's important to your general fund, or all of your funds actually, is that we are creating a new revenue stream on those funds as they sit until they're expended, which can support all of your operations. So those investment interest income come to all of the funds that are participating. And so your utilities receive investment income, as well as your general fund and anything within your that's supported by your mill levy. And so 11.8% of the pooled investment income annually comes to the general fund. That only accounts for 1% of your total revenue in the general fund overall. I'm sorry, in your mill levy funds that you control. So that would be OMA, general fund, and debt service fund. As a reference point, the 2025 total investment income across all funds was $1.3 million. And for that same year, the amount that was brought into the general fund was $148,000. One big part of our evaluation notice that we received from the county is the revenue neutral rate. And we talked early in the budget season, but since we have a good crowd here, I would just like to remind everyone the revenue neutral rate process is something that was put in place in 2021. It replaced a previous tax lid process that we formulated budgets by. And so we've been working under this revenue neutral rate process for a couple of years now. And what that means is that the rate that's provided by the county to us is the equivalent of the property taxes that were generated in the previous year or certified to the county in the previous year. And it takes it's calculated against the current year's assessed valuation. So essentially the calculation for total revenue neutral rate here is 42.209. As a reference point, our current mill rate is 44.136. The part of this process that's important for our residents and you is that it requires 2 public hearings be held at the end of our budget process. One public hearing to exceed the revenue neutral rate, should you choose to do so, and a public hearing for the proposed budget. And so those hearings are an opportunity for you to come and hear about the budget process, which I would encourage anyone here to come to all of our budget discussions because we have good information about how this budget's being formulated, but also it provides an opportunity to comment on the proposed budget on that evening. What's important for the residents to understand and out of this information slide is that revenue neutral rate for any taxing entity does not mean that even if that entity were to adopt the revenue neutral rate, it does not mean that your property taxes is guaranteed to stay flat or level with the previous year. The reason for that is valuations change annually. So as the appraised value goes up on your home or business, that changes the value that's assessed against those mill rates, effectively increasing the total property taxes. And this governing body only has control over the city's mill rates, but there are several others that are on a City of Ottawa tax bill. So it's the city and the library is combined into one. There's the county, the school district, the rec commission, the extension district. Yeah, I think that covers all of them. So all of those entities have an impact on what that eventual property tax bill looks like for our residents. And just to finalize our conversation, and we're happy to take any questions. Tonight or next Wednesday would be another proposed budget discussion where we'll talk about some expenditures and some of the challenges of the 2027 budget. And then on the 15th, we'll have further conversation, but the importance of that meeting is that you will need to consider whether or not you intend to exceed the revenue neutral rate. That is not an approval of the budget. It is not a vote to exceed. It is just the determination that we would notify the county that they would include in their notice to all residents that what the intent is of this governing body. So the importance to the residents that we have here is that the notice that you will receive from Franklin County should show you for your property or your address, regardless of where you live, what city or what county you live in, it should show you what the public hearing dates are for each taxing entity. It should show you what the proposed mill rate would be and if they intend to exceed the revenue neutral rate. That is your notice or the important information for you to be able to attend each one of those meetings if you desire. And then on September 2nd, we'll take up the conversation. We'll hold those two public hearings and then we'll discuss whether or not you want to exceed the revenue neutral rate and vote on that item, as well as adoption of the 2027 budget. So out of any of the information we've provided, happy to answer any questions that we can tonight.
Director Landis, I think it's good to point out our first year, we've met the revenue neutral rate this particular budget year. And so I want to commend all our fellow commissioners in working hard to make some cuts and make that revenue neutral rate work for us. First time we've ever had that done this year. So I just want to point that out. I think it's a great accomplishment we had.
And I just also wanted to point out, and you kind of mentioned it, but the vote and that what would be published to potentially exceed the revenue neutral rate, that does not mean we are exceeding the revenue neutral rate. It's just that depending on what the budget looks like, how that could work. But just how would you explain that, I guess?
So the notice that each property owner will receive will have what the intended or at that point in the process for everyone is really what we think that estimated mill rate might be. Of course, there's further discussion to have and whether or not that amount exceeds that revenue neutral rate that was provided to each taxing entity. So they'll have all of that information available to them. And again, it's not what you have approved. It's only what you intend to discuss at the public hearings. So that they're notified that whether or not they are concerned or whether or not they want to look further into the budget documents that are prepared and provided for their review, and whether they want to come and ask questions of you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. That was a lot of great information in that, looking at the benefits that we have. It was 2.7 million was the new, and then 7.1 was the increased valuation. Are those separate, or is the 2.7 a part of the 7.1?
The 2.7 is a part of the 7.1, yes. So it's one assessed valuation, but it's made up of the new improvements or the new value that we have in the city. So anything that wasn't previously taxed, right? All brand new to your tax roll. And then the market-driven increase for those appraisals at each home and resident, or each residence and commercial property, commercial industrial property in our city as well. So, so roughly 4.5 million was driven by market increases, and 2.7 million, I think is what I said, was driven by new improvements across our city.
Thank you. Do we have any other questions tonight for Director Landis?
No, I'm very well written. I'm impressed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thanks.
it was very informative.
Yeah.
No other questions? That'll take us to item 11C. Consider authorization to purchase vehicles and equipment. Consider authorizing the purchase of vehicles and equipment included in the 2026 Vehicle and Equipment Replacement Program for Public Works, Utilities, Finance, and Police, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary purchase documents. We have Director Sneeden.
All right, good evening, Mayor, Commissioners. I am filling in for Director Welsh because he is not able to make it today. So I have in front of you guys a recommendation to allow City Manager Motti to give us the authorization to purchase the vehicles as part of the 2026 replacement schedule. These replacements are part of our ongoing asset management program, are intended to ensure reliability, reduce maintenance cost, and maintain service levels across multiple departments. This slide provides an overview of the equipment proposed for replacement in 2026. The list includes vehicles from electric production, electric distribution, meter reading, parks, streets, cemetery, and a police division vehicle. Each unit has been evaluated based on age, condition, maintenance, and history. These vehicles have experienced increasing maintenance needs and reliability concerns. Replacing them now will help reduce downtime and avoid escalating repair costs while ensuring staff had dependable equipment to perform daily operations. Units 83 and 84 pictured here have reached the point where continued investment in repairs is no longer cost effective. Replacement will improve reliability, support operational efficiency within the electric department. The vehicles shown here have either exceeded their expected service life or are no longer operational. 2 of these units have combined to 1 recently. It wasn't that long ago that a motor blew up in one of them, and then turn around a couple weeks later, the transmission blew up in the other. So they took the good transmission out and put it in the one with the good motor and made 1 vehicle, which is still, as you see, 20 years old. The police Tahoe and the cemetery mule have both experienced significant operational issues. Replacing these units will ensure staff reliability, equipment available to safely perform essential public services. Staff evaluated the bids received and is recommending the vendors shown on this slide. In the case of the cemetery mule, staff recommends rejecting the bids received from that purchase alone and instead purchasing directly from Blue Valley Tractor to obtain the best value for the city. These purchases directly support the city's strategic goals, as we've looked at many, many times in front of you with everything that we move forward with. By proactively replacing aging equipment, the city can reduce maintenance expenses, improve reliability, and continue delivering high-quality services to residents. So the recommendation and the action tonight is to approve the purchase of replacement of vehicles and equipment as presented, or to defer to a regular meeting for further discussion. And that recommendation would be to allow the city manager to allow staff to move forward with the purchase. And I'll stand for any questions.
Director, do we have any local bids? I always like to see, try to support our local car dealerships. Do we have any local bids on this at all?
We did not receive any local bids.
And on, far as the used equipment, is there any saleable value to those, or is it pretty much junk?
Absolutely. Some of the used equipment we will put on a auction site, Purple Wave, some of which will be refurbished into existing, maybe not so important uses. So, whether we're at the golf course or something and we're moving from shed to clubhouse, make those things easier to where they're not highway suitable. They're not roadworthy for many, many miles. We keep them in town, those that we aren't going to sell on the auction.
I realize this isn't necessarily your department again, but as far as our maintenance crew, how many people do we have? Do you know how many maintenance people, and that they do care and they will maintain our equipment year round, right?
Are you speaking of our shop staff?
Yes.
Yes, we have two wonderful shop employees that take care of all 300 and I believe over 350 pieces of equipment.
No, that's great. Thank you.
Yep.
And I know these, looking at some of the mileage on these, I think it's important to note with the snow plow on these trucks, plowing snow is really hard on a vehicle, on transmissions, on all those kind of things. If you've ever done it, you realize the 77,000 miles on 2004 is actually a lot more in practice when that has been pushing snow for almost 20 years.
Absolutely.
Or potentially pushing snow for that lifespan.
Yeah, and just to clarify, this money's already been budgeted and that's in the funds.
Absolutely.
There you go. Yeah,
Yes,
so it's
actually,
not- right.
the money budgeted was higher than what
Yeah,
the
I
bids
mean,
that
there's
came
more
in.
money in the funds
Yep.
than what we need.
Yep, absolutely. Yep. On the electric side, we budget for that
Right.
in each individual division.
Yeah.
On the general fund side, the parks and cemeteries like that, that's coming out of the equipment
Right.
reserve fund. Yep.
No need to borrow money. This is all cash.
Yes. I will let Director Landis speak to that.
If you don't mind, I might also add that in previous years, we've brought these to you one by one, and we have kind of combined our process this year to make it a little bit easier. It does seem like there's a lot of vehicles and equipment on that list all at one time, but in the past year, well, for last year, as an example, we did purchase 2 pursuit vehicles for the police department, but didn't make any other purchases. So it is, and all of these, I can guarantee, are your highest priority replacements, as the list is actually much longer than just these that are in front of you today. So the bid process itself was, we sent out all of the pieces of equipment with bid specs at one time. We sent them to, they were advertised, they were on our website, they were in the newspaper, and they were sent out to multiple dealerships. And then everything came in, they were evaluated by staff and then being brought to you all at one time. But each of them will be individual purchases from several different dealerships.
And Director Sneathen, can you clarify on the mule, kind of back on that slide what that was? So we're not taking the bid, and we just got a quote from someone that was cheaper than the bid, and that's what we're going with? Or we're
Correct.
going-
That is my understanding, is that I think we received 2 bids, one of which did not meet the specs that we asked for, and the other one was just outrageously high. I mean, almost double from what this one is.
Do we have any other questions for Director Sneathen or Landis, or any other staff? How would we like to proceed?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion, we approve item 11C.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. Go ahead.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions, comments, or discussion? May I have roll call, please?
How do you vote, Commissioner Skidmore?
Yes.
Commissioner Van Layden?
Yes.
Commissioner Allen?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Crowley?
Yes.
And Mayor Clayton?
I vote yes. Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director. That'll take us to item 12, comments by our city manager.
Honorable Mayor and Commissioners, operational highlights. We installed an 8-inch water main on 4th Street, continued work on power poles after recent storms. I removed aging infrastructure near AutoZone to improve system reliability, and completed improvements to K68 booster pump station electrical service. So have some photos down there, recent work we did, along with a drone shot there, view from the southeast water tower. For Public Works, we removed 69 loads of storm debris, patched 331 potholes, swept 40 curb miles, removing 18.36 tons of debris. 23rd Street and Princeton Road repair project substantially complete with temporary pavement markings in place. So those permanent pavement markings will be coming in the next 2 to 3 weeks, we estimate. And we planted 9 trees that were provided to us by the Kansas Forest Service as well. Nice article here, operational highlights on the golf course. Rob Milner, our course director, was featured in the June 25th, 2026 PGA Junior League coaches newsletter, so encourage folks to go out and read that. Upcoming events, have a flyer over there for junior camp. We will be closed this Friday, July 3rd, in observance of the 4th of July holiday, and then reminder on Wednesday, July 8th, there will be a candidates forum at the OMA from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock p.m. Couple various flyers here. Certainly want to remind everyone of the 4th of July celebrations this weekend, including at 10 a.m. on the courthouse steps for the reading of the Declaration, and then obviously the fireworks show later that evening. So tentative items for the next regular meeting are the downtown master plan request for proposal. That will be the consultant presentations, 2027 budget review of mill levy funds, including general, auditorium, debt service, and library, and then consideration of a low to moderate income survey. That'll take any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for city manager or staff? Thank you. That'll take us to item 13, comments by the governing body. Commissioner Skidmore.
Well, I'll start out. Yeah, thank you for exercising your First Amendment rights to free speech. I know some people have already left, and I do appreciate it. I do. We had one instance where someone decided swearing was appropriate, and I feel like I lost credibility in that person when I heard that right off the bat. And I want to get with our legal counsel and our city manager to include in the decorum for public comments that no swearing is allowed. That's all I had.
Thank you. Commissioner Allen.
I have no comment.
Commissioner Van Lieden.
I just want to thank Director Sneeden and the electric department for getting out Sunday afternoon and getting the power all back on as quick as they could, despite all the limbs coming down out of the dead trees. But thanks for that. And yes, everyone have a safe and happy 4th of July. Hopefully you come back with all your fingers and toes.
Yep. Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Crowley.
No comment.
I guess I'll take that chance. I saw you walk towards that. Do you want to give a quick update on Sunday?
Yeah, I'll give a quick, brief update on Sunday. As you all know, a tornado came through our lovely city April 13th of this year, around the 1700 block of whatever street. We saw a little couple of remnants of that just off 17th Street. We had 2 power outage issues. One of them was a small branch at that, across 2 legs of phases, and which tripped out the entire circuit. So there were many, many customers without power. And then later on that day, a tree down the easement landed on one of the circuit or one of the phases and dropped it down. Nothing got broke. The wire was still intact. It was just a matter of getting the tree limb off of that at the time. So we're still fighting the hangers. With that, I will plug this. If you live in the city of Ottawa, please go out and look in your backyard, your easements, and take notice of any dangerous limbs that you see that may need to come down. whether it's yours, whether it's in the power lines, be careful. Power lines, you can call the 229-3750 number. Anything else, feel free to call a construction company or whatever to come remediate those limbs for you. Just, it's only going to protect in the end if we get those taken out before the winter time and you get the heavy snows and stuff.
Thank you, and thank you to, to your crews as well for getting out there, and appreciate that. It was hot and has been hot, and it's dangerous work, messing with trees down on power lines as well. So thank you to those guys.
Yes, and I will take note that when you do call in, there is an opportunity to post a picture. If you were to see a limb going across a power line, take a picture of that, because what that's going to do, that's going to shorten the amount of time, the response time. So I was a half a block away when it happened. So I walked over to where we saw the arc and took a picture of the limb that was actually on there, and they were able to respond so much more. In the event that it's an entire circuit, they have to trace that entire circuit until they find that limb or whatever it was that did it. So I encourage our public to take pictures of things that they see that could be the potential solve. Like, I know I always give kudos to hey, I was the one that found it. That's great for us. That helps us so much.
That's great to know, and that's when they call in, leave a message, and they get a text to their phone that then they share, or how do they share that photo?
Yes, it's through our Doppler our call center. Yep.
Awesome. Well, thank you. That's good to know.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, and thank you, to your staff as well.
Appreciate it. I will pass that along.
I think everyone saw up on the board, there's a lot of stuff happening this weekend for the 4th of July, thanks to the Chautauqua Festival, the Chamber of Commerce. It looks like it's panning out to be a much larger show than we have had ever before. And that is so very exciting at sundown on the 4th. And then Daughters of the Revolution at 10 a.m. on the 4th of July are reading the Declaration of Independence and some other things on the courthouse steps. So be sure to check that out. And just in case anyone knows the score of the USA game going on right now, please do not say anything until I get home to watch it. So with that, that'll take us to the announcements. Item 14, July 8th, 2026, City Commission meeting here at 4 p.m. at City Hall. July 15th, Commission meeting at 10 a.m. here at City Hall. July 22nd, Commission meeting at 4 p.m. at City Hall. And July 29th, study session at 4 p.m. here at City Hall. With nothing else to come before us tonight, we are adjourned.